We got another absolute classic in the novel that is the Penguins and Capitals rivalry on Thursday night at PPG Paints Arena. Hunter and I are going to break down all the fun as well as get you set for this weekend's back-to-back right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am one of your hosts, Patrick Damp. You can follow me across all social media platforms at synonym for wet. Joined as always by my partner in crime, the one and only Hunter Hodes. You can follow him on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can give our show's Twitter account a follow at LO_Penguins. And you can find us on Instagram at LockedOn_Penguins. Of course, as always, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. And don't forget that we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. If you're one of the people following us on YouTube, which you should be, make sure you've hit that notification button. That way you can be among the first to know when we drop our daily Monday through Friday episodes. Before we get started, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by going to FanDuel.com, and you could win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. We'll have more on them later. Hunter, there is no need to delay the inevitable talking about this Penguins victory on Thursday night, 5-3 over Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals. But the big story coming out of this one is that for the second straight game, the Penguins surrendered a 3-0 lead in this one. But unlike Monday against Toronto, the Penguins went full Cody Rhodes and finished their story getting the victory. But I know you've got plenty of thoughts. So Hunter, the floor is yours.
Okay, so the first period against Washington, it was a carbon copy of what we saw on Monday in Toronto for not just the first period, but for the second period as well. The Capitals hardly had the puck that entire 20-minute frame. Archer Shelovs could have taken a nap in net outside of one pretty good chance that the Capitals had. Other than that, they really didn't have the puck at all. The Penguins were skating circles around them. It looked like the Penguins were going to run them out of the building, like it looked like the Penguins were going to run the Leafs out of their own building on Monday. And you take a 2-0 lead into the first intermission. You make it 3-0 off a goal that Charlie Lindgren should have had. I really don't know what he was doing there on that sequence when Tommy Novak and Anthony Mantha. But then the Penguins started to relax a little bit, and that allowed Washington to get back into the game. I don't have a problem with the first 10 minutes of the second period as much as I do with the latter 10 minutes of the period. I still think they could have been so much better in the first 10 minutes where they allowed the Capitals to still get a little bit of pushback. However, those final 10 minutes were inexcusable and unacceptable. You allowed them to tie the game, just like it was kind of a carbon copy of what we saw in the third period against Toronto, Pat. That was 3 goals in 7 minutes. This was 3 goals in 10 minutes. There's no excuse for that. I'm sorry. When you have a 3-0 lead like that, do you need to continue playing for a full 60? And they weren't able to do it. You knew there was a push coming from the Capitals, and they weren't ready for it. Now, to their credit, after they were punched in the mouth repeatedly in the final 10 minutes, they got to intermission. They got to cool off in the locker room, and you go out there in the third period. The first 5 to 10 minutes were a little scary at times, especially when the Capitals had a couple power plays. The penalty kill for the Penguins was great. But I thought the final 10 minutes of that third was exquisite for the Penguins, especially defensively. Once Brian Rust gave them the lead on the power play, and we're going to talk about the power play really soon because this power play is red hot, best power play in hockey right now. Pat, some people are calling them power play merchants. We're not going to go that far, but power play is red hot.
Well, I'll say this much. It's still part of the game. And again, said it plenty of times on this show. Pro sports are not a restaurant. You can't look at the schedule makers or the standings and go, sorry, this wasn't cooked to my liking. Can you please take it back? If team's going to let you score 3 power play goals, you say thank you and you keep it moving.
The Capitals penalty kill overall, like league-wide, isn't very good. They were coming into the game a little bit better their last couple of games, but they hadn't seen a unit like this. And the Penguins power play took them behind the shed and absolutely destroyed them. I mean, the movement on that power play was exquisite. They had the penalty killers guessing every single time. Again, we're going to get into more of that right after I'm finished with this, Pat. But after Brian Rust gave them the lead, that final 8:44 was textbook defensive hockey. The Capitals had nothing going offensively for the final 8:44 of that third period. Hell, the Capitals only had 2 high danger chances at 5-on-5 for that entire third period. I thought the Penguins did a great job locking it down. What you saw after they got the lead back, that is what you had been seeing in the third period when they had leads, outside of what you saw on Monday in Toronto. I'm glad they got back to it. But please, for the love of God, I want to see a full 60. I'm obviously glad they got the win. They showed a lot of stones getting that win, getting to the locker room. You bounce back, you get that game winner from Rust. The fourth line, I also felt like was great in the third period. Connor Dewar and Blake Lizotte were absolute hounds on the forecheck. They were great in the defensive zone as well. But they got to work on, when a team starts pushing back, how do you answer that? And they haven't been able to do that these last couple of games. So that's an area that I really want to focus on. However, again, Pat, I'm happy they were able to get this win, because if they didn't, things could really start spiraling.
It's a lot easier to watch film and make adjustments after a win than it is after a loss. So there is that much. But I am going to slightly disagree with the whole blow in the lead thing, because I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying it's excusable. You should just step on your opponent's throat when you have a 3-0 lead and just close the door and not give them any life. But unlike against Toronto, it was pure domination for 40 minutes. The Leafs looked like they weren't even worthy of playing in the National Hockey League, let alone playing in that game. And then the Penguins just took the third period off and surrendered everything. In this game, the Penguins didn't play all that poorly in the second period. You knew that Washington was going to push back. And I would say at this juncture, right now on November 7th, the Washington Capitals right now in this moment are a better team than the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not by a lot, but I would still say they're a better team right now. We'll see how the season bears out.
We'll see. The Capitals have been really struggling as of late. They've lost 5 of 6. I'm not really that high on Toronto right now either, but we'll see. I don't have any.
Right, but the way I look at this one was against Toronto, it was a complete collapse. It was just total capitulation to your opponent. This one, 2 of the 3 goals are direct results of bad turnovers. I don't think it was a direct result of they just let the Capitals in. You had the first goal that was scored by Dylan Strome, a complete lazy play by Philip Tomasino, just lazily sends the puck up the boards, gives it right to the Capitals, and they capitalize on it because the Penguins were already in transition. That's also something to be said for the rest of the unit that was on the ice. They need to be more accountable, but Tomasino can't make that play. Rasmus Sandin's goal to make it 3-2. I didn't love the net front defense, but it was also one hell of a shot by Sandin. He marked that one for the top corner. And then Wilson's goal, same deal. Ben Kindel makes a boneheaded play rather than just clearing the zone, and that gives them that opportunity. Now, the Penguins should have played better in the second period, but it wasn't total and complete collapse. You knew Washington was going to push back. You knew Washington has the horses to push back. I thought overall the second wasn't as bad as a lot of people made it out to be. And then they come out in the third and they get back to what was working, which is the power play, playing a solid 200-foot game. And then after getting the lead, they lock it down defensively. So I understand why people were frustrated, because it's 2 games in a row you let a 3-0 lead slip. I'll put it this way, and then we'll move on to the power play. If they blow that 3-0 lead on Monday in Toronto, and then they do this again in a month or 2, we're all just going, haha, it's the second time they've blown a 3-0 lead this season. That's crazy. But because it happened 2 games in a row, that's so much fresher in your mind. You're so ready to get angry at it, when the circumstances, in my estimation, were much, much different. It was two different games, and they come out with a win on this one. But a large reason they come out with a win, the power play goes 3 for 5, and it could have gone 5 for 5 with how well that power play was playing. The movement was fantastic, both the player movement and the puck movement. And when they had open lanes, they were not afraid to shoot, and they were not afraid to shoot for rebounds. And that is exactly how Crosby got his second goal. It is firing on all cylinders.
Everything about this power play right now is beautiful, from the zone entries to the puck movement to the shoot first mentality, keeping the penalty killers guessing, the cross seam passes. It's all awesome. We can talk about the net front presence as well. It feels like it's kind of like a rotating net front presence, Pat. Sometimes you'll see Gino in front of there. Sometimes you'll see Sid, as you saw last night. He was in front of the net for one of the power play goals. He was also in the Leon Draisaitl spot on the half wall for a really nice one-timer. So everyone is really moving around, and I really want to shout out Todd Nelson. He has unlocked something else in this power play that not even David Quinn could last year. And last year's power play was one of the best power plays in the league. It was a complete 180 from what we saw the season prior. But then when you look at last year's power play compared to this year's power play, it's crazy. Even the difference that you're seeing right now compared to last year, where that unit was great with Matt Grzelcyk. Now you replace him with Erik Karlsson, who I also think has been really good quarterbacking this unit, even though that hasn't really been his big bread and butter throughout his career. He's more known for his 5-on-5 offense. He's still been great as the quarterback. Sidney Crosby has been great in the Draisaitl spot, but he's also been good in front of the net. They're moving Evgeny Malkin around, even though sometimes he doesn't have his one-timer like he used to, but his playmaking is still fantastic. You saw that pass to Ben Kindel. Not many other players in this league can make to Brian Rust, he made the pass to. Not many other players in this league, despite Gino being 39, can make that pass. It was a thing of beauty to Brian Rust. Ben Kindel got the secondary assist on that one. I almost mixed up the two passes on the power play goal stat because they were both so good. Ben Kindel's pass to Sidney Crosby, he knew what he was going to do with it before he got the puck. He knew he was going to give it over to Sid. The hockey IQ continues to shine. He very much belongs on this power play. So not only was that Ben Kindel pass beautiful, that Gino pass was also great. And then you have Crosby's goal in front of the net. Everything about this unit is humming right now. They're at almost 36% for the league. That's best in the NHL right now, ahead of course, the Edmonton Oilers. So, yeah, Pat, people can call them power play merchants, but why don't you stop it every once in a while?
Yeah, you have the ability to stop it, and a lot of teams have not been able to. And speaking of the power play, I'd be willing to bet we've got some listeners who have some good TikTok editing skills. If you want to find some Penguins power plays and put the Harlem Globetrotters music over it and send it to us, we will certainly not be upset about that. But we got so much to get to because this weekend, it's a big one for the Pittsburgh Penguins. We've got 2 games back-to-back to get you ready for, starting with tomorrow in New Jersey, the battle of the Metropolitan Division, the 2 teams atop the division, the Penguins and the New Jersey Devils. We will get you set for that game when we come back right after this. Before we do that, though, we've got to tell you about today's first sponsor, and that is Rougiet. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or hey, it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that is where Rougiet comes in. Rougiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves just like the Penguins power play. Rougiet makes it so easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, so you don't got to worry about those awkward waiting room visits and in-person visits with doctors where you're averting your eyes and stumbling over your words. It's all right there on the internet. And if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your doorstep. The process is fast, simple, and private. And best of all, it's handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonnhl to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonnhl. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNHL so that they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. We're back here on the Friday edition of Victory Friday edition and a preview edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm Patrick Damp. That's Hunter Hodes, and the battle for the early Metro Division happens on Saturday afternoon at, is it still Prudential Center? I'm still going to call it Prudential Center. I don't know. Everyone's changing their arena names now, and I'm just becoming a boomer about it, and I'm calling it what I called it as a kid. So Prudential Center, 12:30, Penguins and Devils, both teams tied atop the Metropolitan Division with 20 points. And we know that Newark is a house of horrors for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It always has been. And just to rub a little bit more salt in that wound, Hunter, the Devils' record at home this year is a perfect 6-0-0. So for the Penguins, not only is it a place where they historically play pretty poorly, but now they're going to a place where the New Jersey Devils so far this year don't lose.
Pat, don't they call this place the Rock as well?
Yeah, isn't that the Prudential logo? It's like a mountain, side of a mountain type thing. I don't know. Again, I'm being a boomer about it. I'm calling it what I call it.
Well, I got an email from Penguins PR like I do for all the matchups, and it is still called the Prudential Center. So you are right about that one. You can pat yourself on the back. In their last 22 games against New Jersey, Penguins wins 11, Devils wins 11. This is going back to March 20th of 2021. So an even split for, a little over 4 years of data here for sample sizes with games. But this Devils team, man, oh boy, they are cooking to start this year. And they are led by none other than Jack Hughes, who is one of the top favorites to win the Hart Trophy right now. Has 10 goals, leads the team with 10 goals, by the way, 18 points in 14 games. When he gets ahead of steam, good luck stopping him. He has been absolutely phenomenal. Jesper Bratt has also been great with 15 points in 14 games. Dawson Mercer, who has kind of turned into a Penguin killer over the years. He's been great against them. 7 goals, 12 points in 15 games against the Penguins since the 2019-20 season. He has been great for the Devils this year too, with 8 goals and 14 points in 14 games. Nico Hischier, only 3 goals in 14 games, but he's still close to a point per game. Timo Meier has gotten going. Luke Hughes doesn't have a goal yet, but he does a lot on the blue line. And then, of course, they do still have Dougie Hamilton, but he's a little banged up right now. Wasn't at practice on Friday. Sheldon Keefe told reporters after practice that he is going to be evaluated, so his status is TBD. And then it feels like for whatever reason, Pat, when the Penguins play Jacob Markstrom, it's gone sideways. He has played against the Penguins fairly well throughout his career. His numbers are so-so this year. He does have 4 wins, but his goals against average is close to 4, 871 save percentage. Jake Allen is actually outplaying him this year. 5-2 record, 2.48 goals against average with a 904 save percentage. I think Markstrom is going to get going, but they have had a good year from Allen so far, which is important. So at least for Allen's perspective, he's giving them good goaltending, but this has been a Devils team that's given the Penguins a lot of problems over the years. Their team speed especially has, the Penguins just don't match up well against it. So that's going to be the biggest key for me in this one. What adjustments does Dan Muse make to combat the Devils' speed? Because they come at you in waves. Their penalty kill is 6th best. They're going up against the Penguins' power play, which is top ranked, of course. But I've said before on the show, the Devils are one of the only 2 to 3 teams in the league that know how to run a power kill. So when that comes towards the Penguins power play, how do they adjust against that? That's also going to be a really curious matchup, as will be the goaltending decision for the Penguins. Do you start Sergei Murashov against this high-flying Devils team, or do you save him for Sunday at home against the Kings?
Well, we know what your vote is. We talked about it yesterday. You want to see that Murashov NHL debut against the Kings. I will say this, what I'm curious to see is I've been low-key impressed with the speed at which the Penguins have been playing this season, because we know that one of the issues they've had over the past couple of years is that they lost their trademark speed. And they have been playing pretty fast to start this year. As we know, as you said, this is a Devils team that their team speed has given the Penguins fits over the past couple of years, which I am still not used to saying after all those years of the Devils being a slog to play against, but that has changed. So I'm curious to see, is this team is this Penguins team really fast? Are they fast again, or is this an illusion? So this will be the first real big test for that. The other thing, you brought it up as well. The Devils' power kill has been a hallmark of their team for the past few years. They will go up against the best power plays in the league and make them look amateur. This is another big test to see, can this Penguins power play continue the momentum against a really good penalty kill? The other thing is, I don't want to say that this is a Devils team that could be had because they're right there atop the Metro with the Penguins, but you look at their last 10, they rattled off 5 straight. They beat Edmonton, Toronto, Minnesota, San Jose, Colorado, which mostly all good teams except for San Jose. Minnesota and Toronto, yeah, they've had their struggles. So has Edmonton to a point, but good teams we expect to be there at the end of the year. And then in their last 5, they lose 3 of their last 5. They lose to Colorado. They lose to San Jose. They get a win over the LA Kings. They lose to Anaheim, who has been a surprisingly good team. And they had to battle to get a win on Thursday night against Montreal, another team that has surprised this year, has been pretty good. So they went from looking like the absolute top of the pops to start the year. They're not sliding. They're still very good. They're still playing well, but they're slowing down a bit. And if you're the Penguins, you want to take advantage of that. You want to maybe take this as a moment to rattle the Devils' confidence as they continue their schedule into November.
That, and I also, again, I'll keep saying until I see it, I want to see the full 60. When a team decides to push back on you, how do you respond? Do you kind of curl into a ball and just let them come at you in waves like you've seen the last couple of games when you get out to big leads? Or do you say, okay, we're going to punch right back and we're going to get the momentum back on our side? Again, I like that the Penguins were able to punch back in the third period, even after blowing the lead, but I don't even want it to get to that point. If the Penguins, say, for example, go up 2-3 goals in New Jersey for this game. And I know matinee games, Saturday in Newark, not the best 3 things you want to hear if you're a Penguins fan, just because of their history playing in Newark and some matinee games and stuff. But I still want to see, when the Devils push, and they're going to push numerous times in this game, how does this team react? Because the Devils, they keep coming at you every single shift. It doesn't matter what line is on the ice, what defensive pairing is on the ice. They will keep coming at you, and it wears on you. Like, we've seen it wear on the Penguins multiple times throughout the last several years where they just don't know how to handle it. So what adjustments does Dan Muse make? I'm excited to see, man. So this is going to hopefully be a lot of fun to watch. Jack Hughes, again, is tremendous so far this year. Nico Hischier, Dawson Mercer, Timo Meyer. We'll have to see if Dougie Hamilton plays. And also another thing, Penguins penalty kill has also been great lately. They've killed off 19 of their last 20 power play opportunities. So both special team units are riding high right now. You might see Kevin Hayes make his debut. He is traveling with the team to Newark. He was kind of skating on the third line today. He was also rotating, so we'll see. But another big test. If they get through this weekend, if they're able to split these 2 games, that's big because the schedule really eases up after this.
For sure. And with the Kevin Hayes thing, we do have to mention an injury update from the Penguins that came out earlier today. Forward Philip Hollander will be out at least 3 months after a blood clot was discovered in his leg. Absolutely awful news. I know we've been a little bit critical of his game, but this is a lot bigger than the sport itself. We hope he gets a full recovery and is able to return to game play. Last thing I want to add before we get you ready for the Kings game, in regards to this Penguins-Devils game, I'm going to sound like a broken record because I've said this quite a bit this season, but discipline is going to be huge against this team. You have to play the structure you have been playing this year, because with the Devils team speed, with the Devils level of talent, if you start trying to play hero puck, if you start trying to improvise, this is a team that will make you pay and make you pay dearly.
Do not get into a track meet, especially against them. We talked about against Toronto. You saw how that went in the third period where the game opened up. Don't recommend it against the Devils. I'll say that.
Not one bit. 12:30 Saturday afternoon. You can catch the game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh from Prudential Center, which Hunter has confirmed is still the name of the Devils Arena. Once again, 12:30 Saturday afternoon, Sportsnet Pittsburgh, Penguins and Devils for early season Metro Division supremacy. But they will be right back at it on Sunday afternoon when the LA Kings come to town for the Penguins and Kings final meeting of this season. We'll get you set for that one as well right after this. But we've got one more sponsor we've got to get to, and that is FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Wrapping up the Friday edition of Locked On Penguins, I'm Patrick Damp, right alongside Hunter Hodes, and early season meeting with the LA Kings went pretty well for the Penguins, a 4-2 victory on October 16th in LA. They will come to Pittsburgh for a 2:00 Sunday matchup. So you can have yourself a nice little Yinzer day on Sunday. You can watch the Penguins at 2 and then the Steelers at 8 on Sunday Night Football. Big weekend for us, dear Yinzers. But this is another game where the Kings, they have been pretty middle of the pack to start this year. They're struggling. They start going a little bit, then they fall back. So Hunter, honestly, I don't have a ton of keys to victory for this one because it's just going to be the same as when they played out in LA. You've just got to be able to counter their top line. And if you can do that and stick to your game, you got a pretty good chance of coming away with 2 points.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like the first period they had out in LA, but after that, the Penguins really bounced back, played a solid second, and then dominated them in the third. So I really liked 40 minutes of that game. Archer Shilov's really kept them in that game, especially after how poor they were in the first period. He gave them a chance, and the Penguins were able to take it. They got a couple of nice goals in the second period. You get the game winner in the third, and then you win 4-2. But with the Kings, they're usually very stingy in their own zone. And I still keep saying about this team, they're better than their record indicates. I think this is going to be a playoff team. You're seeing Adrian Kempe. He is the biggest player to stop on the team. He's also been a Penguin killer throughout his career. 6 goals, 17 points in 15 games. The Kings need to do everything in their power to pay him. If he walks, they're going to be up a creek. I'll say that. You cannot let this guy walk. Quentin Byfield, he doesn't have the goal scoring this year.
It does sound like the Kings and Kempe are pretty close. Both sides are interested in sticking together, and it doesn't seem like it's contentious. It just seems like a haggling over what the number and the term is going to be. I would be genuinely shocked if Kempe left the LA Kings.
They better hope he doesn't leave because he is driving literally a ton of their offense this year. Also, of course, the ageless wonder, Anze Kopitar, only 7 points, 11 games, only 1 goal out of those 7 points. Remember, Pat, he did not play in that first matchup against the Penguins. So for everyone out there that's maybe thinking about going to this game, I would actually highly recommend it. This will be your final time to see Anze Kopitar play in person because he is retiring at the end of this year. He's been an absolute pleasure to watch throughout his career. He's great defensively in his own zone. Also always been great offensively, but one of the best two-way players of this generation. So,
well, of course, it'll be your last chance to see Anze Kopitar until the Pittsburgh Penguins LA Kings Stanley Cup final in 2026.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Like they'll play 7, 2-1 games against one another and all that. I joke, of course, but yes, your final chance to see him here in Pittsburgh. I've talked about Brant Clark before. I really like his game. Kevin Fiala is having a fine year. The ageless wonder Corey Perry is a point per game. I was touching on Quentin Byfield. His playmaking has been really good. I'm still waiting for him to really break out. He's had back-to-back seasons of 50-plus points, but I'm waiting for him to hit that 70-point mark. I think he has it in him, but he's still someone to obviously keep an eye on. And how do you look on the second half of a back-to-back? It's good that you'll be at home for it, but last time they had that back-to-back, Pat, in Philadelphia, they did not look good for most of that game. I would say only, 10 to 20 minutes, a good chunk of the third period, I would say they were better than the Flyers, but before then, they were skated off the rink by the Flyers in the first two periods. How do you look in the second half of a back-to-back? That's going to be also another key for me. But this game, very winnable just because the Kings haven't really put it together yet so far.
No, they have, like I said, they've kind of taken one step forward, two steps back, or at the very least, it's just been a negation where they take a step forward, then a step back. They're really struggling to put multiple good efforts together. So it's a team that can be had. Last thing I'll say about them is the goaltending has been suspect to start the year. Now, some of that is just the way the team has been playing, but Darcy Kemper only has a 900 even save percentage. Anton Forsberg, 878. So with the Penguins having a really good power play and a pretty solid shooting percentage, it's another opportunity for this team to take advantage of playing against a team that is not getting the best goaltending. But Hunter, unless you have got anything to add about Penguins Kings, I will tell our listeners that that game is at 2 p.m. at PPG Paints Arena, also on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. And then we got the Steelers on NBC at 8 o'clock on Sunday night. So hope that you have got the cold ones on ice, the couch ready, and the TV ready, because it is a big weekend for Pittsburgh sports. And we hope that when we come back on Monday, we're talking about nothing but W's on the Locked On Penguins podcast. So that is going to do it for us here on the Friday edition. For Hunter Hodes, I am Patrick Damp. Thank you as always for tuning in, and we will be back on Monday.